Hey guys, this is Joe from TruthStream, and just wanted to share this with you. We did an amazing interview with Pascal Najadi and Derek Johnson, and I'll show you some of the comments thus far. We're going to give this a shot. We don't have any more strikes right now on YouTube, so here is the interview, and here's some of the comments. Frankly, Dawn of Night, guys, this was so freaking fabulous. Such a great show. Thanks. Excellent show, Joe and Scott. Your guests consistently bring epic content, and I always look forward to your podcast. And I'm just going to read the first part of this. This is one of the most hopeful podcasts I've ever heard since 2020, etc. So I'm going to just go up here real quick. There is a QR code. That's for either sponsor, support, tipping, whatever you want to call it. You know, Scott and I have both been bartenders, and so we feel that we're bringing more value than the time, to humanity than when we were pouring drinks and serving food and beers, etc. So if you'd be so kind, we could really appreciate, we'd really appreciate it. We could really use the support. We had no idea how long this was going to go on. And if you're on your phone, just go down here, you click show more. This is on the Rumble, of course, and this information will be right below on YouTube as well. But you can go to TruthStream Info, donate right here, and click that link. So anyway, hopefully this resonates with you guys. We're very honored to be doing this work, and just want to say thank you to all those who support us, and look forward to do many more interviews. So without further ado, here is our YouTube version of Derek Johnson and Pascal Najadi. Welcome to TruthStream. Today, we are very honored to be with both Pascal Najadi and Derek Johnson. And this is the first time they've had a chance to have a conversation. We're going to go a bit deep. We're very thankful to have them on the show. And without further ado, welcome, Derek, and welcome, Pascal. It's an honor to have you both here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you, Derek, for the time. Thank you, guys, for arranging that. I'm really proud, I must say this word, and Derek, to be with you on the show, because you represent my values, my family's values. My great-granduncle was the founder of the Swiss Army, he was president of this country here, which is gone deep state. You in your land, your constitution, I deem, is one of the most, well, it is the most beautiful constitution, the 76 constitution. And you swore to protect that constitution that protects the people, we the people. I did the same. So I'm very honored to be with you. And thank you, John and Scott, for arranging this.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Yes. And I think part of the reason, and some of the viewers may know this, but and we could talk about it freely this time because we had Pascal on about a few weeks ago, that in his short film, that's not just his, but he's part of a short film, cutting the head off the snake, 4 minutes and 44 seconds long. There's something that you put in there that says Derek's website. So do you want to reference that?
I'd like to recap. This film was, I'm a filmmaker too. This is not my show. This was not my work. I was kindly asked by people from overseas, and they're not from the Biden camp. More I cannot say. And production has decided 3 things. 1, no copyright to give it wings. 2, no credits, because it's dedicated, sadly, only in memory of the, I tell you, more than 20 million killed men, women, children, and severely injured people, humans, around the world. And 3rd, they decided to give me a title, and I'm honored they gave the title of Derek Johnson's work. The documents.info, they were hiding it and making it visible for the other side of on the river. And guess what? They picked it up. And it means nothing else that you're done. All of you will be judged. All of you in Switzerland, in Austria, in America, all the people who have violated with high treason the Constitution and injured and killed people with COVID and other treason in the United States, stealing elections, not just the 2020, interfering in 2016. All these things, and I think Derek should talk more about it, have been packaged in this film as a message to the world. For the good guys, it means relax, sit back, and listen to military orders if they come. And for the other side, it means simply, you're finished. That's it. And that's Derek's work. I always say it. It's Derek Johnson, right here.
Derek, you want to respond
Derek,
to that?
what made you do this work? I mean, you had a tremendous amount of work to do to compile it and the blueprints to make sure that people can read them correctly.
Well, I've just you and I both in the pre-show talked about how we're veterans, you know, and we took an oath, and then what most people don't realize is some people hear that and that sounds cliche, but where I say it comes from right here in my heart. In my family, one, they love this nation, they love people, they love God, they love the earth, they love the planet, they love the living. And I come from a long lineage of military, and I tell people all the time, I'm really honoring them first because they've all passed on except for my dad and a few great uncles, and a few other family members that served. But the ones that have gone on, I'm really speaking for them because they swore under the same, once again, the Title 10 over here, they swore to protect the same Constitution. You know, you can't have one without the other. And so, mine comes from right here. And I'm also one of those, though, that I believe that if you say you believe in something, then I think you got to believe in 100% of it, not 99%, you know, or not even 99.9. For example, you know, people who say they believe in support in the military. Well, we have military laws, orders, regulations, customs. We even have military jokes that we all share with each other. I mean, all the way down to that. And so many people say they believe and support the military, but yet the whole time throughout 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, I mean, I went viral August of 2022. All before that, I mean, I was asked, are you off your meds today? Are you crazy? Well, I don't know if I believe that. I believe in support the military, but I don't, that's got to be horse. And I'm like, it's military laws, it's military orders, it's military regulations, it's military customs, you know. And then when you get into more of the special operations side of it, then you have optics and comms. You have all these different play-ons. You can flank this way, flank that. There's all kinds of things. You got to get inside. You got to blend in with the enemy. So in order to get in and blend in, you got to sell them that you're one of them. You know, there's so many entities to military that people just don't see on a daily basis. And that's not knocking people. But what I was saying is, before you knock me, go learn our laws, orders, and regulations, customs, before you start saying, you know, things like that make you sound. It makes you sound ignorant. It makes you sound lazy. I'm not saying that you are lazy. I'm not saying you are ignorant, but it makes you sound that way. So before you sound off the horn and remove all doubt, go look at this. And so I don't know. It was one of those more of, once again, honoring every single memorial soldier out there, memorial grave, what they stood and fought for, and many of them fell for it. Fallen in this kind of regards, they fell, their bloodshed fell for that Constitution. And they should be honored right now more than anybody during this process, because that's what every single soldier around the world right now, they're fighting for the same cause. And a lot of them might have to take the fall too, unfortunately, but that's what we're called to do when we get called in that position. And I'm trying to honor those men and women who are doing so right now, but also those that paved the way for us to be able to do that and for them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, with regard to the military, I mean, Derek and I have talked about this in the past. We have similar lineage, but in the military, we don't have the kind of division that we have in this culture that's sprung up in the last few years, because the the stress, whether it's of combat or the considerations of wartime or whatever it might be. What matters is what's in your heart. And the military sense of humor, we were talking about that a little bit in the pre-interview, is testament to that. You know, I mean, everybody gives each other shit. And I was helping out a friend of mine, and she had this was yesterday. She had so many crayons. There was a big box of crayons and then a whole set of crayons. And I just thought, clearly there are no Marines living in this house. So, because they would have eaten them all, right? So it's that.
Or they would have eaten.
Yeah.
Or they would have eaten all the red ones first. All the red ones would be missing. So.
Right. But yeah, you got to be able to make jokes like that, and sadly in our culture, it's just the opportunity for humor and lightening your heart is just getting narrower and narrower. And I think, you know, that stemmed from long period of time where we didn't have to worry about a threat, so we started manufacturing them. And so
well, what's funny, if I may add really quick, what's funny about that is one of my Army buddies texted me this morning, and she was asking me to, you know, would I come on her little podcast she does, and it's completely different, nothing to do with politics or anything like that. And she calls me baby daddy, right? Well, we have this inside joke. Whenever I first met her, there's an inside joke, and you know, she had gained some weight because of some medicine she was taking. And so everybody was picking on her, everybody in the battery. And I walked up, I was a new guy on the scene. I just walked up, put my hand on her stomach, and I said, how far along are you? And she, oh my gosh, I'm going to whoop your ass. Anyway, she just went crazy, right? In a fun way. Well, instantly, just this quick, my sergeant from Mississippi, I mean, here we are all Southerners. She was from Mississippi too. You know, just this quick. I mean, as soon as I said that and everybody was laughing, he goes, Johnson, you ain't been here long enough. Oh, man. And it became an inside joke all these years, and her family embraces it. So it's been one of those things where we just, you know, we cut up with it. And, you know, something like that in any other setting, you walk up in a corporation now and do that to a lady. Oh, man, you're going to be. If she's overweight, I mean, all these things, you would be in HR quicker than a cat can lick its butt, right? You know, you'd be in there and you know, you would have all kinds of lawsuits on you. And so, you know, what we do in the military is we embrace each other's lifestyles. We come from not just, even in the U.S., it's not all states. I knew 4 people in my basic training alone that came from Jamaica, China, St. Martin. There's a lot of places that people were coming from to serve. So even just in the U.S. alone, and they were streaming tears because, you know, they go through a whole different ceremony where they receive their citizenship for joining the military. But, you know, when you're in that, everybody's from everywhere, different cultures, different backgrounds, the way you grew up, the way you believe, the way you worship. I mean, everybody comes together, and then you're with each other 24/7 with those backgrounds together. So it's almost as if you don't like each other, guess what? You learn to like each other because you're not getting away from each other. And so arguments happen. Sure, arguments happen, but arguments are healthy sometimes because sometimes that's what you needed to get it out and then find an equilibrium where you can meet here and I meet you here and go, okay, you're not changing with this. I'm not changing with that. We've established that, and then you move forward, because then once you've argued about it, well, you could keep arguing about it, but most of the time people, you know, get exhausted with that. But then you realize you're fighting for something bigger than yourselves. And that's what the military always ends up coming back to, is that and then like I've met soldiers, I think about them all the time. I don't know their name. I don't know where they're from. We have one mission or whatever together, and that was it, and you never see them again. But someone like me, it bugs me. That's the other day I was thinking of a guy that I served with, and his dad lived in Hungary, and I was sitting there thinking, I wonder where he is, what he's doing, how he's doing. I only saw him 2 or 3 different times, you know, and little things like that always get you if you have a heart. And then, like, you know, Swiss or different militaries, you can serve 1 time with each other, 2 times with each other, 3 or 4 or 5 missions with each other, and then you may never see each other again. And that's the stuff that I wish people could feel right here. Because if you got it right here, it's one of those tight feelings you get, and one of those heart sinking moments. And we just have all these jokes, and the more jokes we tell, and the more, I mean, they would brief us on Mondays and Fridays and say, hey, no homophobic jokes, no racist jokes, no sexist jokes. As soon as the door shut, hey, your mama's so fat, she plays pool with the planets, bro. Right? I mean, as soon as the door shut, and it could be the most black guy and the most white Southern guy making racist jokes, and we love each other, right? And so, of course, some of those briefings are briefings, right? Some of them are because they know too. They know you're going to do it, but they also know that's how we all get along, and we do get along because we're fighting for a grander cause. We're fighting for a grander mission. We're not fighting, as we talked about in the pre-show, we're not fighting for individuals. We're not fighting for gay marriage and this, that, and that. We're fighting for humanity. We'll let you decide that. We'll let you decide how you believe, who you worship. As long as you ain't hurting somebody or harming somebody or cramming it down children's throats, we're fine, you know? So,
well, yeah, and how you express your freedom might look very different from how I express mine, but if we don't fight for freedom, then we both lose. And this whole idea, you know, and in our culture, you know, there's so many things we can't talk about anymore. And, you know, I think a venue where you can talk about the most things is the venue where bad ideas go to die, because they don't get to flourish in the darkness. People are talking about them. And if you got a bad idea, like, I don't know, maybe communism or something like that, it's going to get discussed.
Yeah.
Probably weeded out. So,
you see, my proverb in the film.
That's the worst thing we've ever done is not talk about it. That's the worst thing we've ever done is not talk about difficult things.
Right.
That's right. In the film.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. Sure. I have this proverb which I developed during the last half year in the name for the victims and humanity. And remember, listen to the words. We are the guardians, Space Force, of humanity, and our light obliterates the darkness of evil. That's what's happening now. And I always say, always. Because if you go into a kitchen with some rotten cockroaches in the dark and you switch on the stupid light, guess what happens? They run around, headless chicken, right? That's what's happening now. They're exposed. And you know what? The ruses became traps and are closed now. Now, today, end of November, those ruses are traps shut and they can't escape. And when we talk about fighting, a lot of senseless and wrong wars happen because of the cabal calling on them. We know that. But now we're in the phase where, as you said, Derek, all the officers and men and women serving their respective military and constitution, we are not fighting. We are defending and protecting our respective constitutions in the military. And this is the most noble fight, if you want to call it a fight. I call it defense and protection, because it automatically protects one, and that's the divine humanity. We have been attacked by evil beings. Those are not human beings. Those are, as President Trump says, bad and sick people. And if President Trump says bad and sick, he means criminals that will be judged.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to ask Derek in front of the viewers, can you give a little insight into why you know, I think we know why, but how you made the documents, what went into it, how much work it was when you started on it, because it's going to be looked at, you know, as years come on and as years come and people look back to it and see the struggle and what it took to get out there. Can you give a little insight into how that came to be and what inspired you to do that in the first place?
Well, one, I have no life and I wasn't getting any dates at that time period. But so, well, you know, once again, I mean, I was throughout 2012 and 2013, 2014, 2015, those were probably my pivotal turning points in my life as far as when you talk about life or death. I really felt I had lived in Nashville and, you know, I was pursuing the country music thing and things weren't going you know, the way I wanted in a different manner. And I started praying to God to give me some kind of something. And I didn't give him everything back then. You know, I was one of those lukewarm Christians, as they call it. And I pick him up when I needed him and put him down when I didn't. But I felt this, it's just like I said, right here, I felt this calling to go in the military. And when I went in, I enlisted with a degree. So I could have been an officer. And I had all the letters of recommendations to go to officer candidate school. I had 9 letters of recommendations from generals, colonels, and congressmen. And one very, 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 very important one that's off in the dark right now that's will be brought back into the light somewhere in the future. I won't say his name right now, but you know, just for that reason. But he was a very key, important role around President Trump in the early days. And so, you know, so I had all these letters of recommendation, and I enlisted, and a lot of stuff happened that I don't talk about, and that's why I love haters and trolls, because I'm like, you know, I have fact checked this for a reason, because I was born for this, and I finally found my purpose. But when I got out of the military, I didn't want out of the military. As a matter of fact, there was a guy the other day came up, being an instigator, like a troll, and he was like, "Well, you said you retired, but you didn't do 20 years. How's that possible? If you can garnish a military ID that proves that, you know, I'll apologize." Well, I said, "Well, get your apology ready. Well, here you go." You know, retired. And, you know, I don't talk about that because it puts emphasis on me, and this ain't about me. Is exactly what we just talked about a while ago. And only God knows that. And people like y'all too, you've met me personally. And as you get to know me through the years, you know, actions prove that. That's how you earn trust anyway, is actions. We all know that. Words are meaningless if you don't back it up via actions. So only God knows my heart right now, truly. And you know, I didn't do this for myself. And I just started seeing these things that what I did, I was living in a 1-room shack. I mean, in Clarksville, Tennessee, Fort Campbell. I barely opened the shades some days because I was depressed in a different manner, because I couldn't figure out why God took me out of something I felt my calling was in. And I know that I did everything by etiquette, protocol, and standard of the military. And but some of the stuff I witnessed and saw is something that there's a certain incident that happened to me that is classified, but thank goodness not the kind of documents that the FBI beats on your door for. But, you know, I have this incident that happened that will be revealed somewhere down the road when the time is appropriate. And you can expose that and show that without it being about myself, that it'll just fall into everything else that everybody sees. And there's a memorandum that was put out. But so from 2015, 2016, and 2017 is when I really hit some moments in my life, as the saying, the rubber meets the road. And I started digging, trying to figure out what the heck happened. I was trying to find all the laws and orders, military laws and orders of medical, of how to get back in the military. I was going to be willing to forfeit my retirement if there was a way to do it and get back in the military. So I started researching all the medical, but I had to see what the heck was going on with Obama at that time. And you know, the Obama administration, because that's who I served under. That was the administration I was under. So when I started digging on all the executive orders, I'm talking about in depthly. I knew a lot of them, but I went in depth. I mean, one by one, read. I mean, and it took a lot of reading, but I had all that time. I didn't really have a life. And so I stumbled on a lot of the things that clicked with me, that happened with my incident, but also what happened with some of the things I saw and heard via generals. When a well, it's a 2-star, but any kind of star, well, any kind of general cusses the president in a brigade form, right? In a formation. We're talking about 2,500, 3,500 troops in one field. When a president cusses when a general cusses the president, like, you know, there's some stuff going down. And he didn't just cuss it in like a brief "I got mad at you" moment. This was a full-fledged conversation with troops, and he annihilated Obama in a lot of things he said. Well, all those entities started tying in together, and I was able to piece it together. And then when President Trump went on that campaign trail, won the escalator, but then when he was on the campaign trail with a light bulb, it was just like that, like a ton of bricks hit you. When he was on the stage one night, and I have to go back and look at exactly where he was, but they did this on purpose. They had all these Republicans on stage, and it was on purpose because a lot of people are going to find out that it's a lot on both sides of the aisle. It ain't going to be like it's heavy Democrats and a little bit of Republicans. It's going to be a heavy group of elites of all kinds of titles, right? And a lot of Republicans. So they put all those Republicans on stage, and there was three things that happened that night when Jeb Bush, of all people, asked Trump a question. And that's the last time I'm going to call him Trump. I always do it one time, and then I have to refer to him as CIC Trump. But he said, who's going to vote for you? Who's going to back you? And who's going to support you? And I love smart alecks, because if you know what you know and you got what you got, then it ain't a smart aleck. You transfer that term over to confident. And, even though President Trump hadn't learned this yet, he maybe will one day. Maybe he'll start saying "fact check this," but we'll see about that later. But he had the confidence, and he looked at Jeb and he says, "Well, Jeb, that's a loaded question. That's more than one question. And if the moderator give me time to answer this, I'll answer that for you." He said, one, who's going to vote for me? The American people are going to vote for me because they're tired of BS politicians like you. Every single one of you on this stage have served no less than 4 years of public office, and you tell the people what they want to hear, and you never back it up. He said, I am not a politician. I'm a businessman. He's like, and when I go in there, I'm going to do exactly what I say I'm going to do, and I'm going to win people's trust by their economy, because that's all the people care about first is the economy. He said, I'll win their trust via that. You don't need to worry about the military, because never again will we voice to the public what's going on with our military. That's a military decision. That's between the commander-in-chief and his troops, and you, the people, don't need to know about that. And we'll earn your trust via your economy. Therefore, we can make those decisions with the military. And you will trust us because of your economy is doing good, your families are doing good, your bank account's doing good, all your 401ks, everything else will be doing fine. And we will earn your trust via that way. And then he said, what I had known from my grandfather, who has been passed for almost 19 years now, World War II veteran, and then my great uncle, who was a Purple Heart at Normandy. So I had a lot of that lineage that done gone on, but I was that kid that eavesdropped on my dad and grandfathers, and I listened to my elders, and I respected my elders, and I took everything they taught me, and I tried to pass it down, because that is what we're supposed to do, the good parts of the world, and laws, orders, regulations that are good. And he said, I have over 200 generals backing me right now, and more to come. Talking about who's going to back him and support him. Well, to me, that was what was called a conspiracy theory for so many years, because there were stories that said 200 generals, not collectively, but 200 generals would take this country back over if given the opportunity, and reset it on its foundation, which is the Declaration of Independence first, then the Constitution, and then reset it, meaning, hey, I don't know how we got this far out of whack and out of balance, but this ain't what America's supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to look like. Forget all this other rhetoric and all this other stuff. All these guys, they say the Constitution all the time. They quote James Madison all the time. They quote all our founders. They quote them, and they misconstrue and butcher it. And that's what we reached. So 200 generals, well, when he said that also, not only was he talking about a conspiracy theory, but also every individual out there that was not in the military, most people, when they hear a general, they hear an individual. But when we hear a general, we hear a man or woman and all their division under them. All right. So a giant pyramid all the way down to the lowest level private in every branch as well. And he said he had 200 backing him then and more to come. And the other thing to tie that in, to put that in perspective, in the United States alone, only 14 generals led the command of World War II. And we see how that turned out when the United States stepped in and had to get involved in that. And put all the federal corporation aside, I get it, but the military has always worked the best they can against the corporation. And it's been one of these all the time like this. See, so many people don't want to separate the military and the federal government, and we're completely separate. Thank God for the Military Justice Act of 2016. That was go time for our military. So when those things happen, it started, I mean, however you describe it, but I mean, we all have it. If you have a good heart, and you're, especially if you're a veteran, and it's not knocking people who aren't, but veterans have this different calling. If you're a good person, if you serve for the right reasons, and if you have a calling for humanity, then you have this little thing in you that goes, well, this is what's going on. I mean, they're showing us, they're showing me, they're showing you, because we are military, we can see it. And that's what gets me the most, was that fact that, you know, when I was telling my friends and family, I'm like, you can't believe and support military if you don't want to listen to our laws and orders, because I'm showing it. Well, show me where it says that. Right here. It don't say it in Alabama hillbilly slang. It says it in the terminology of which it's supposed to say that Donald Trump is commander-in-chief. It says it right here. This is your order for the aircraft. We don't get up in the sky and go, hey, call down and radio down. What's my orders today? We've been flying up here for 3 hours. Can you give us an order? It don't work like that, ladies and gentlemen. Orders have been in place long before those boots ever hit the tarmac and boots ever hit the aircraft before they ever get in it. So it's just little things like that kind of inspired me. And I thought, well, how will I put this? It's too long to talk about. And initially, you know, to condense it, because we're in a self-gratification world. We're in an instant gratification world. You know, you can't even have a company anymore to sell a t-shirt. They want it within 3 days. Everybody thinks you're Amazon, you know, and so it's the same thing with knowledge. If people can't even understand that you're a tiny company and you got a shirt or a product and you're not Amazon, how will you ever compete if you can't compete with Amazon? So it's the same. Think about that. That's just a product. Think about knowledge. Think about what everybody's heard their whole life. It's like Charlie Ward says all the time. I quote this quote all the time. It's not my quote, but when he says, you know, it's easier to con people than it is to convince them that they've been conned. And that's hard. It sucks that it's that way. It shouldn't be that way, but it's such a true statement. So when you start showing people, hey, it's a lot of information. So how are you going to get them to read it all? So, you know, the documents are really what I call all over the board in a different manner, or in my opinion, how I wrote them. Because if I wrote everything in there, they would be 10,000 pages. It would look like Obamacare. It'd be like this. It'd be like this. You can't even see my hands. Like, you know. And so I just thought I'll find the nuggets, the best nuggets possible, and then people can go read that. And then I was hoping, and it did a lot of people, but I was hoping at the time I wrote it that when they got that one nugget, it would inspire them to go find all the other nuggets around it, kind of deal. And that way, you know, because sure, I mean, I've had people criticism, well, it don't have everything in there. No, it's not supposed to. It would be, like I said, it would be as big as Obamacare if it had everything in there. But that was my inspiration, was just the fact that, you know, it's not about being right. And I know fact check this is really a confident slogan, but it is because, once again, military, I'm just one person in all the military of the U.S. I was one little person. But once again, these laws and orders are right there. And that's just how the military operates. That's how it functions. And if you want to know what's going on, you got to look up here, because military is a chain of command from the top down. The orders come from here down. And when you get up here, there's not as many generals as there are privates. There's not as many generals as there are, specialists. And then you just work your way up. It's really not that far up. So I wanted to find a way to put it to people to go, hey, you're watching the most. I mean, I have so much admiration for Donald John Trump and the military personnel, because they are walking around knowing what they're doing and have not leaked one thing. And orders show it. Laws and orders show what's going on. Now, anybody who reads it and can have the mind to comprehend it, you can't unread it, you can't unsee it, and you can't unknow it once you see that, because it all stacks up there. Now, once again, I'm trying to go back now and teach people terminology, definitions, the language, and go on. It shows you Donald Trump's commander-in-chief right here, but it's going to say it in this kind of language. This is a military order. It's a direct order, and this is what it says. And then going back and showing that, hey, if Joe Biden was president, then his executive orders from April 2023 and July 2023, they're reserve components, so the reserves, all right, to Europe. If he was president, they should be up under this other order over here with Donald Trump. It's not there. So you got to explain why it's not there. It doesn't take 5 and 8 months to post that on a house.gov. That's just how the House of Representatives and our Congress works. So, it's just teaching people that. But I don't know. I've never considered myself a teacher, but I take it as an insult for all the military personnel who gave their life for this nation, who, most of them were anywhere from 18 to 22 years old, with a few outliers all along the way. But majority of our soldiers that die in battle, 18, 19, 20, 21, knew what they were doing. My grandfather lied about his age, 17 years old, lied about his age. Scott, so the Mobile, Alabama, we have a Mobile connection here. I was born in Mobile, Alabama, and my grandfather, he went and he enlisted at 17 years old, lied about his age. He had a buddy that was 15. Of course, they weren't really hardcore checking ages at the time because of what was going on. But imagine that. Can you get a 15-year-old now to just even go to the recruiting station just to tease them a little bit? Well, you can't get in now, but when you turn 17, I can sign for you. If you're a parent, you can sign at 17, but imagine that 15 years old going to a recruiting station, lying about their age in a wartime. It's things like that that get me, and I get emotional about it because my grandfather got emotional about all his buddies he lost. And it's just paying forward their lineage and paying forward what they fought for. And then I got to walk in his footsteps and hope to forward that to someone that's walking in the military now. And you hope that they feel that same sense of pride and humility to what they're serving under. And that's kind of, I guess, how my inspiration came, and I wanted people to have that same kind of mindset, but also heart and appreciation for what the military does around them 24/7, that they would never know. I mean, we operate around civilians all the time. They would never know it ever. So it's just, it's not trying to make them, you don't want to shake someone and make them, right. But it's kind of that thing where majority of people, if you walk up and say, do you support and believe our military? Oh, yes. Well, what if I told you Donald Trump's commander-in-chief right now? Oh, I don't know about that. That's crazy. Well, you can't believe in one without the other, because what we were talking about a while ago, he and I both, when we took an oath, well, Title 10 is our title that shows we take the oath. 10 U.S. Code, Section 502 if you're enlisted, 1031 if you're an officer. Well, the same code where the president federalizes troops to active duty is 10 U.S. Code 12302. That's the one I talk about. The last amended section of it is Donald Trump's order. If Joe Biden was president, his orders should be under that. They're not there. Right. So it's the same Title 10. You can't have one without the other, right? And I guess that's my passion is going. It's right in front of you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for such a candid explanation. And also, I think, I try and explain some of this stuff to my mom, and just, it's like, you know, you got Kennedy talking about secret societies, right? Well, what happens to Kennedy? They take him out. So I think this 60-year plan, I believe that might be the amount of time that it's been going on. Who knows exactly? But that's why Trump may have said what he said, because you can't just do this in the public vision, because then you end up getting people killed, or the plan gets leaked or whatever. So I think you really have a very good point in saying it's amazing that none of this has been leaked. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, well,
you gotta. I'm just going to say something really fast to your point there, really fast. Please don't lose your thought, Scott. But what you were saying there, every little entity of what Donald Trump talks about, and when I do that, I'm talking about like minuscule. So on November the 15th, 2022, last year, we just obviously went over a year. It's been a year. It's hard to believe it's been a year since that big speech, and everybody thought, all the patriots thought President Trump was going to say something that night. But then he's just announcing 2024. All of you guys, Derek Johnson, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, they were jumping ship, boy, that night. That whole speech was loaded full of what we call comms, especially military. But to your point there, that night, he specifically said, and you're going to always have people go, well, especially the other side, and I don't like using, parties, but especially the other side right now, because of where we are in this nation, the other side would go, well, he's incompetent and he's dumb. And no, everything the man said has happened or is going to happen. But over 95% of things he's already said is already happened, and it's happened. So that's pretty good record. And that night, he specifically said, my administration has kept us out of wars for decades and decades. One decades plural is plural enough. That means more than, obviously it means more than 10. But when you do a double stack, decades and decades, then it's a double plural. So there's a meaning behind that. And I personally know and believe that it's tied in to what he is doing and the military is doing, what you're just talking. They're doing what JFK set out to do. Dissolve the Federal Reserve and do away with the federal corporation. But there was not enough backbone and spine from all the military personnel back then and everybody else, civil patrol, civilian, etc., Congress. There was not enough backbone and spine to support what kind of operation that would have needed. And so that's why that's that 60-year plan that you're talking about for people out there. That was also a quote, about it would take a long period of time because they had to set it up, and it cannot be a dictatorship. At any one point, does the military come in a dictator style, then we lose the integrity of our foundation. We lose the integrity of our history. And we can't do that, and we shouldn't want to do that. Sorry, but
that was
important.
What I was thinking was, you present information beautifully, but the problem with it is it requires more than 30 seconds of attention span, and that's a rare commodity these days. But if you look at the outcomes that we've seen in a short period of time, feels like a longer period of time than maybe it is, because this has been so tense. But the degradation of the military, both in force and size and everything else, the recruitment figures are so low, it's unreal. The people that are interested in signing up are doing it to fund their sex change operations and that kind of thing. I mean, it's, how did this happen? And what does that look like to the rest of the world? But it's these outcomes clearly point to an agenda. And to pivot a little bit, Pascal, so much of that agenda seems to hail from Switzerland, beautiful country. I love Switzerland. That's, home to the WEF and the WHO and GEVI and organizations.
Yeah.
They're known for the slogan of neutrality, but it would appear that that's bullshit. What would you say made Switzerland ripe for being the seat of corruption in this regard? Not Switzerland alone, mind you, but it sure seems to be the command center for a lot of bad behavior.
Look, I'd like to give you the short of the long.
Yeah.
I advise governments around the world, presidents, ministers. I was not a banker for shuffling money. I was the crisis manager, okay? Some of them involved war and peace. Now, well, let's just look at it. Let's take 2 steps back. First, your president is wartime president and commander-in-chief Donald J. Trump. He's always been. That's fact. Switzerland will be gone in that respect very soon, cleaned up. A breeding ground for the global cabal. It's an overused word, but let's call it bad people, call it deep state. It's maybe more interesting because President Trump just said it a few weeks ago, I will obliterate the deep state. Remember what Derek said? As a commander, the last thing you do is antagonize or threaten people if you don't have the red button. Okay, President Trump is not only a businessman, he's a commander-in-chief. And if he says that, he has to back it up. And it's happening. When he said deep state, relates a lot to Switzerland because we have private NGOs. WHO is a privately funded NGO by the Communist Party of China. That doesn't mean that Xi is bad. There's elements within China, I call them deep state in China, who are funding the WHO. There is Switzerland, stupid enough, my country, to do that for a reason, by intent. There is Bill Gates, who is interacting with the Communist Party of China, financing the same entity, a private NGO. And Germany, of all the Germans again, and they have committed high treason. They have committed a global biotechnology attack by rogue, not the US military, by rogue elements of the US administration. Dr. Fauci, we can name, it was Mr. Biden to Obama, Clinton. They have, in your perspective, they have committed high treason to the Constitution, to the US military and the people. And for that, there's military justice. So let's make it a long explanation from my part here from Switzerland to complement Derek's explanations. First, President Trump always was president since 2016. He is the president, but now he's the wartime president. And maybe Derek, you can later explain what that means. He's the commander-in-chief, no doubt. That means he also has centralized the US military branches under the US Space Force that he has inaugurated in December 2019. The USSF is the Command, Control, Communication Center, makes it easier to manage. But also he's triggered the War Generals Alliance. And as far as I'm informed, and I've been using the nuggets of Derek Johnson and digged further, facts, that's a treaty. And if the United States Commander-in-Chief calls for that, it's like a call, it's a duty call. Certain military organizations have signed up to this. And they, you know what? They are backing up the Commander-in-Chief. It's under his command. If he says publicly, which he did, I will obliterate the deep state, that's not just the US. That deep state is everywhere. In Ukraine, for instance. The coronavirus was harbored, created in Wuhan, China. Fauci was financing it under the biotechnology, gain-of-function, bioweapon developments embargo on the US. Man, we have it all. And I know for a fact, this man that people fought the ruse, Mr. Biden, is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been buried on the 20th of January 2021 with 3 cannons at Arlington. He got the funeral for a vice president. So then you ask yourself, who is that dude who, needs nappies and stuff? What do you call that? Diapers, sorry. He's an actor. He's doing a bloody good job acting, actually. I saw Derek's photograph of Mrs. Kamala Harris stepping out of a private Gulfstream. I used to fly those planes. Great aircraft, by the way. And there is this dude on the left side, full beard, like me, more beard than me, in a US Air Force uniform and he salutes Kamala Harris. And there's a dude on the right side, sorry, in a civil suit, a dude saluting Mrs. Kamala, the vice president. Well, I learned from your war manuals and military orders and rules, a vice president doesn't get saluted. It's the commander-in-chief that gets saluted. But more importantly, the guy on the left, the bearded guy, Air Force, bearded, illegal, nicht erlaubt, is an actor. Because why the beard? It's not because it looks ugly. No, it's operational. If there's an ABC alarm, you got to put on your mask. And if you have a beard, guess what? You die. Okay, this is why we don't have beards in the military, because the ABC mask must be tied to the skin. If I have a beard, that mustard gas or whatever gas they might use, well, I die in a few minutes. I'm dead. So, as Derek said, it's all laid out in front of us. Then you got the yellow fringe flag. Do you think a US nuclear submarine is flying the yellow fringe flag? They have the Title IV flag. That's the US military. But Mr. Biden, the actor, got the yellow fringe flag because it's a military occupancy. There's a flag protocol. People can go online and read it. It's all there. So it's not a junta that makes a coup. It is the US military who didn't take control. They're doing their job, in my view, as a Swiss. They're doing their job, protecting and saving the nation, the people. And now here comes the point. This is a global operation. And it's in coordination. And, you know, it really is sacrosanct, because what they have done, the deep state, since decades, they have manipulated, abused the constitution, called for wrong wars, killed men and women. And with COVID, they went for the kill. They crossed the red line. They attacked the human divine species. Now, they went beyond biblical. And I always say, well, guys, what's been put in motion years ago by President Commander-in-Chief Trump and the US military with the War Generals Alliance at work is a multiple beyond biblical in response, so that no human being, not even a sick and bad human being, ever dares to repeat the same again. I believe, and Derek, you can comment on this, I believe this is so big, so precise, the planning is so well done, that the President and Commander-in-Chief Trump releases now, since a few weeks, tiny little bits. And people have to learn to read and listen to him and read between the lines. When he says, got troops in harm's way as your commander-in-chief. Hey, dude, he just confirmed a few days ago, I'm the commander-in-chief. But he didn't slip it out because he's not focused. No, this is deliberate. This is optics, as Derek always says, and I understand them in the military, it's optics. He's conditioning now very fast. It's accelerating the people. And soon people, and in a few weeks, they will start, not because of us here, just us talking, but they will start to say, dude, where is the Democratic Party race for the presidency? I only see Trump. And, you know, Trump is uniting the people. He's not saying, vote for me. He's just saying, I'm doing this and that. Wisdom. You put Trump anywhere in a square in the States, anywhere, I don't know where, in Wenatchee. Guess what happens? People will come there. 100,000 will go there if they listen, if they hear through social media that he's there. He doesn't have to go to CNN anymore. They're not fake media. They're corrupt, deep state media. Guess what? They'll be taken out as well. And I gave journalists, Derek, in Paris, your website, in a coffee shop. I said, hey guys, let's open this up. Read, this is an executive order. I used the 13848, which is now extended on the 7th of September, 2023 by a certain Mr. Joseph R. Robinette, funny, Biden, Jr., already missing the title president in the, you know, this is the website of the White House. It's not the .com website. And this presidential order pulls down the pants of if he would be alive, president, any president. And people still don't believe me. And I said, guys, that means I'm faking that website now. This is a hacked thing. So they are in denial now, but most of them are afraid. Why? Because they've got dirt on their boots, and that's not from the good fight. That is from the dirt they have been doing as corporate heads, as lawyers, as judges, as corrupt prime ministers, corrupt parliamentarians in my country. All those people who were part of a democide, guess what? The US law, War Law Manual 2015, revised summer 23, is enforced globally now because the US is at war. President Trump has put the US into war, and he has federalized the National Guard, and he has put the US Coast Guard is now operating under the US Navy. That can only be done if it's in war. He has mobilized 1 million men and women with live munitions on helicopters and guns into service. There is a no-fly zone over the stupid White House, which has been a house of corruption for so many decades. You know what? The US Air Force is flying over it almost daily just to show to the people, hey, we're now protecting you. And I heard that Mar-a-Lago has a no-fly zone. Well, it makes total sense. I would also call for one. Because in my personal view, don't have to confirm this or deny, Mar-a-Lago is the White House, the operational White House right now of the United States. And the president in there is Commander-in-Chief and wartime President Trump. That was my short to the long observation. And I've used my university here, Derek, remember, university is here. And I've read Derek's brilliant blueprints, and it led me to this, what I just said. Now, if I said something wrong, Derek, please correct me.
No, it's perfect. Perfect. I like that short of the long because it was long like my short, you know. I mean, I thought what was cool was just the other day. So, like you said, President Trump put a truth out, and he retruthed that he was commander-in-chief. The other thing he did was he retruthed Mar-a-Lago, and it had Marine One right up in the sky above it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marine One, it just, now if he's traveling somewhere long distance, yeah, they'll load up Marine One, they'll load up the Beast and things like that. But you know, like that was a very big comm right there. I mean, sure, Marine One has appeared a lot of places, but when you see Marine One over Mar-a-Lago, they are telling you right then, because that's a residential place any other time period. That was a major optic. He just did this like 2 or 3 days ago. And then I told you in the pre-show, ABC.
Can you
ABC just put out. ABC just put out the fact that he has powers that no other, and they call him Trump and Donald Trump. They don't say former president. This is ABC now. This is your mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen. And they're saying he has powers that he can use that. And they put the picture of George Herbert Walker Bush up. They don't put President Trump's picture up. So they're showing you the last president who had to use a certain kind of power like this in a different manner. But it's saying within the U.S. That's the key comm on the article topic, the header. Within the U.S. That's very key, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about terminology. Within the U.S., you said it a while ago, and I'll just say it briefly. How the president can declare war. Well, the War Powers Act of 1973, that is bipartisan. They passed that in 1973, so 50 years ago. All right. And the way he can declare it is national emergencies. And it has to be a certain kind of national emergency that makes him a wartime president. And the last wartime president that did so was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1941. He told Congress, he didn't ask Congress, he told them. He said, if you don't act, I will. And who do you think the military is going to listen to? You, the Congress, or me, their commander-in-chief, right? And he was talking about the generals. He wasn't talking about just some, little level privates down here. No, he's talking about the generals. Who do you think the generals are going to listen to? You, the Congress, or me, the commander-in-chief? And so that's when they passed the first War Powers Act. The second War Powers Act came out in 1942. It wasn't a follow-up or an amendment, though, of 41. What's very key with that War Powers Act of 1942 is called Land and naval usage. All right. Well, right now, every day I show them there's aircraft from Canada, Honduras, all over. I mean, I'm talking about Tunisia, Algeria, Nigeria,
Germany,
Egypt,
France.
Germany, France, Netherlands, Belgium, Hungary, Spain, all in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Not only on, I'll phrase it like that, not only on National Guard bases, but on regional and municipal airports that have no military components whatsoever on a regular, like, okay, Scott, Mobile, Alabama, right? Regional airport. It's not an international airport, not a big airport at all. It has one terminal in Mobile, Alabama. You walk down one and it's a little bitty airport. That kind of airport, we have foreign military daily since this order was put into place that Donald Trump declared. He did declare war in the United States, December the 20th, 2019. That's the War Powers Act, Section 1550. And then he used, as you said, the 1 million, he put it in an executive order, 13912 in March 2020. All right, that's what made him a wartime president. That one order there, because it's a certain kind of national emergency, and it's also under a military direct order. So that's what made him a military. And he holds that command until it's revised, revoked, rescinded, or mission accomplished. And mission accomplished would mean you'd have a resolution, a joint resolution, and it will be publicly made, known to the public that this is what's been going on. This is what we did. There will be an explanation, ladies and gentlemen. So if you'll just be patient, this is an operation. It's a military operation. And I love how you said, I say all the time, and I'll correct it in a different way, because what I meant when I say military is in control, I mean good guys are in control. Now, I love what you said. We're not in control from a dictator standpoint. We're defending our land. We're defending our Constitution. We're defending our soil and our people from the attack, the biological chemical threat. As you said, that was the rogue people. And they used a lot of military. They used certain people themselves. They abused their powers. And a biochemical threat, ladies and gentlemen, are all outlined in the federal continuity directives. And see, those were going to be used against the people. But when Donald John Trump and the military, when that Military Justice Act was signed, December 23rd, 2016, and it gave the separation of powers, it separated military and civil courts. It separated president, commander-in-chief. Then it separated commander-in-chief from the federal government. That was like giving go time to the generals. Here you go. Here's the biggest gift you can get on Christmas Day with a big red bow on it. Never before in U.S. history was it clarified in language and clarified in writing that the president is separate from commander-in-chief. And that's always been a debate over here. Always been a debate. Well, that debate, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, was passed bipartisanly on December 23rd, 2016. That gave the military generals go time. It gave the commander-in-chief go time. It gave the Secretary of Defense go time, meaning we got everything we need now to finalize this operation and put it into place, because then they could always go back to, well, your Congress back here did this. Guess who was the president 2016? That president's Congress did this. And also, even though it wasn't Obama's Supreme Court, it was the Supreme Court under the Obama administration who clarified this. So when President Trump says, if they're going to investigate me, they got to investigate every president before me immediately. He can go, hey, this was the Congress who did this. It wasn't mine. This was the president who did this. It was a Democratic president. It wasn't me. And also, it was the Supreme Court who clarified it, the highest court in the land, right? So they had go time. So, he declared presidency, wartime presidency. It's all in the War Powers Act, 1973, Section 1550. He can declare war via national emergencies. That's Section 1621 under the War Powers Act. And then also what the short gist of that is, Title 50 is actually titled War and National Defense. So, yes. But what made it a joint operation, though, was, sorry for the noise, but what made it a joint operation was in that clause of 1550 where he declared the war. It's actually titled the use of military force in support of partner forces. So they pulled our partners in right there.
Well, understanding COG is so important in this, and it's not widely understood, but the fear I had in the beginning was we have all these sweeping emergency powers. I mean, from 9/11 on, we've had like a lot of sweeping emergency powers that would have granted COG, which puts 12 people in charge of everything, and suspends the United States Constitution.
That's continuation of government, just for in case anyone's not sure.
Yeah. So, what a brilliant move to be in COG already, right?
Well,
so that was quite comforting when I learned that. It was your material, Derek, that led me to that comforting conclusion.
You got to understand.
Well, for people Googling out there, sorry, Pascal, but for people Googling, it's now called Continuity of Operations Plan, because you're not going to find it under a COG. And so they changed the title. They changed the name too, because I believe, this is my opinion, I believe they're trying to separate it from when the deep state was going to use this against the people. Right. And they use a different terminology to help people go, hey, this is still good, guys. They intercepted this. The military, like Pascal, the military, we intercepted the 2016 election. That's when the military they didn't allow Hillary and the Democratic Party to dump or take away votes. They didn't add to Donald Trump. I want to clarify that more and more and more. That when I say that, some people take it and run with it. No, I'm saying the military, that's in our laws, that the military, they can do this. They step in, and we use analog systems. We don't use digital, so it can't be hacked. So we can see things as they are live, and we have the data there. So that's what they did in 2016. That's why, like he just said a while ago, it's so awesome. You're not going to say, I mean, first off, and I'm glad we have this right here with him, but is the fact that, two military personnel, but especially his elite history, what he's done is a lot more than mine. But, first off, Donald Trump would have never been able to go to all these countries and play hands with the Pope and walk in front of the Queen, leave the Argentinian president standing on the stage at G7 going like, where did he go? He just left him there. All right. He went into the forbidden city of China. The first time in 500 years a foreign leader has been there. North Korea declaring Jerusalem capital. Are you serious right now? Why wasn't it a descendant of the Jewish culture doing that? Why isn't an American president so far that we know he has no kind of Jewish lineage? Why was it that? I mean, think how big that was. If anybody else would have done that did not have a massive military backing him, he would have been assassinated the same as JFK would have, or they would have fired a shot at him. If this was a normal presidency, they would have fired a shot at him like they did with Reagan. I mean, these are all optics for people to see that Reagan got too charismatic under the elitists out there. They fired a shot at him to pipe him down because he got a little bit too charismatic right here with what he was talking about, government and things of that nature. All right, that was under a corporation. Donald Trump would have never been able to do what he did. And then also, to Pascal's point, there's like, this is beautiful. Donald Trump said, we have it all. We've caught them all. He said that on the 2020 campaign trail. We have it all. We've caught them all. No one would have been able to catch them but me. All right, well, he wasn't trying to make that about himself. That's where he was kind of, that's a perfectly drawn up speech where it tries to not tell you completely, but still for the people who are paying attention. But he would have never said these things if he didn't have a big button, like he just said, a red button, that at any moment that they want to push it, it's game over, right? But you have to wake certain people up, and this has been a beautiful plan. But anyway, I thought that was very important, though, to bring that up. That the continuity of operations plan, they intercepted these things, and then they flipped this on them, and they're using their very words. And see, they're bringing out the integrity of people, because there could be people, and Pascal can probably add to this, but is that there could be people who were operating with bad people, but they didn't know what they were doing. So they're not guilty themselves, and they could be given, hey, this is what you've been doing. This is what you've been working for. You didn't know it. So there can be people who've been in an operation, didn't know it. and they could be pulled back over here going, hey, this is what
Yeah.
you've been doing, and they're not punishable. But the people they were working for are, per se, treason, crimes against humanity, and things of that nature. So that's why it's important to realize that what the military did is they stepped in, they got the systems, right, as President Trump alludes to with the elections, all right, and then the continuity of operations plan, they stepped in and kept it from being used against the people. But like, I love what he just said earlier. It's so beautiful when you, at night, oh, I hate cockroaches, but they're all over the South. We got them big time down here. It's nasty, right? But like you said, cockroaches, they're in their environment, right? Dark. They love to get out at night and dark. But when you flip a light on, they go everywhere. All right. And if you're that person standing in the middle of the kitchen and someone pops the light on, let's say you went in before, let's say Joe went in before you, Scott, right? And you walk in there, and then all of a sudden Joe flips the light on. Scott, you're standing right in the middle of the kitchen, and all these roaches start going everywhere. You're going to probably start dancing if you don't like roaches, right?
That's right.
So that's what a lot of people are doing right now. So sorry, I know I went a long
No,
but you know, I just think I think it's important for people to know that it's so important to people to pay attention to words and language and definitions and context and terminology, because those are very key with war as well.
Yeah. Look, you mentioned Marine One. For the Swiss people here on Europeans, can you just explain Marine One? I mean, they're used to Air Force One and stuff like that, but we had Marine One exposed at Mar-a-Lago, which is a no-fly zone. So can you explain the fact Marine One hovering, I mean, being there in flight? Can you explain the aircraft?
Oh yeah, Marine One is just a helicopter. It's a Marine Corps helicopter, and so it's one is beautiful, and of course I'll have to eat my words here because we make all our crayon jokes about the Marine Corps, but since I was Army, I got to tip my hat. The Marine Corps, ladies and gentlemen, are the president's choice, so the Marine Corps answer directly to the president, even though people hear that and they think, oh, well, don't all military do that? Yeah, but they're the president's choice. But you know, Marine One is just his aircraft, the Marine Corps.
The Marine One,
and then too, like you said, the no-fly zone would be any kind of commercial aircraft, and possibly in a normal situation, it would have been foreign military. It wouldn't even be in this fly zones period. Because you have to have a reason being in the United States fly zones and airspace. But for the sake of, this is not your normal situation. This is a military occupation taking place. You know, they know what foreign aircraft are in the regions in the area. Matter of fact, there's a Brazilian aircraft that was flying this morning, not far from Palm Beach. And it's been doing this for over a year now. But yeah, that's very important for people to know that a no-fly zone, they already have the entities that can be in that space. And Marine One is the commander-in-chief's helicopter. That's his way of traveling, getting in and out of places quick to then pop down to an airport somewhere to get him on. You know, if he had to be in a situation where he had to get on an aircraft to be safe, get up in the sky, then they put him on a Doomsday plane.
Well, but let's talk about Titan 25, which is a nuclear doomsday plane. That aircraft costs $200,000 an hour to operate. Correct me if I'm wrong, the only persons apart from the flight commanders who can command this plane is the President Commander-in-Chief and or the Secretary of Defense. And the aircraft been flying, I published the flight plans. The past ones, I don't know the future ones. Since November 22, it's been in the air a lot. It's been all over the place. Last week it was in Korea, it was in Japan. I made a brief visit, I think Singapore, I'm not sure. Who's flying on that stuff? Is it then the Secretary of Defense by orders of President Trump doing certain last-minute checks or coordination? What do you think?
I would lead to the Secretary of Defense being on it, just because, you know, I think what they did with Commander-in-Chief Trump would make it look like he is in the background in a different manner, because you can't ever make it look like he's a dictator for the people who are still asleep out there. And there's a lot of them. You can't make it look like a dictator. And his orders, you know, Executive Order 13919, which is in that first 6 months clause of the Declaration of War, he directed it, and it specifically says, I direct the Secretary of Defense.
Yes.
It's basically saying equal authority. It's sorry, I got a loud truck going by. He said, I direct equal authority to federalize the reserve components. So he was given the Secretary of Defense that equal authority, which from my research, I cannot find another president doing that to the Secretary of Defense. They have delegated, they have given them authority, but they have never directed an equal authority, meaning, okay, for layman's terms, if the president is somewhere else, that the Secretary of Defense and that Commander-in-Chief are so intact with each other, they know the plan very well, that if he cannot reach the Commander-in-Chief for a confirmation, then he can make that decision. All right, because they will have all these safeguards, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, you know, or what we call in the military flanking. It'd be like a flank kind of deal, even though that's more of a ground term. But also talking about Titan 25, but also it's an E4 Doomsday plane. I have a buddy who watches all our shows. He loves you. He was texting me last night that you gave me a shout out, and a few other people has been giving me a shout out. He's been keeping me up to date. He's a big fan. Brilliant guy himself, though. I tell him all the time, I'm like, if you wanted to show your face, you'd be perfect. But he was a contractor for the E4 Doomsday plane for quite a while, and we keep tabs of it as much as we can, because you know, we just being in that entity. Well, we caught both Doomsday planes in the sky at one time. Now, that's a huge no-no. And he found it before I did, because I was doing something else, and he texted me. He's like, dude, both E4s in the sky. Ladies and gentlemen, with both E4s in the sky, you know some business is being taken care of. That's just not, it's not protocol. Even one in the sky all the time. And what's amazing about it is, if people Google the Doomsday plane right now, there's a few articles that were put out in the last year, and it's in the articles are not super mainstream. They're not like CBS and ABC, but there's some independent sites out there, and they talk as if the E4 is so rare to see, which it is. And that's what we're trying to get over to people, is that E4 aircraft is a doomsday plane. It is for the protection of a president during a nuclear attack, and it's also for the Secretary of Defense for command operations. It's got a full-fledged command operation on that aircraft that can command anywhere in the world at any time. All right, and strikes. It can call nuclear strikes from the sky. So, you know, or any kind of missile strikes for that matter. But it's a nuclear aircraft. So
it's a highly modified.
Yeah,
it's a highly modified 747. It can fly non-stop if need be, refueling. It needs two KC-135s to fill it up. It can fly if need be, only constrained by the lubricants of the turbines, 1 week in the air. 1 week. The turbines can run.
Absolutely.
The only constraint is the lubricants, which you have to fill up to have the ball bearings going, and you know, all this stuff. But it's been flying all the time.
The other thing I was going to say really quick.
Sure.
Well, other thing I think we have a delay, but sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I got a delay over here. Well, so the E4 though, once again, adding to that, every single Gulfstream and every entity that the DoD operates with, they flying under SAM call signs, which is Special Air Mission, ladies and gentlemen. And every time Air Force One is in the sky, every time, it's not with a SAM call sign, ladies and gentlemen. It's flying no call sign or empty call sign. You wouldn't do that. If they're willing to show you on a public app that the president is in the sky, if they're showing you already, then a call sign's not gonna, that has nothing to do with where it's located and showing it to the people. So that's the key thing for people to hang on to, is that, hey, if they're showing you the Doomsday plane on a public app, then they're showing you. They're saying, hey, we're showing you the Doomsday planes in the sky. All right. And the other entity is when the president, when it says on Google or whoever's telling you, the media is telling you that Biden is in California today, if they're showing that aircraft flying across the country with a no call sign, they're showing you, well, guess what's supposed to accompany? Is an E4 Doomsday plane. How come there's never an E4 Doomsday plane beside it? All right. There's not. So, ladies and gentlemen, when they're showing you this E4 in Russia, I mean, I've seen it too. It's been in England. It's been in South Africa recently. Well, I'll say South Africa. Let me specify. It's been in the continent of South, the South region of the continent of Africa. It hasn't been in the country, South Africa. I mean, it's been everywhere. All right. And it's not training, ladies and gentlemen. That is not training. We don't train like that. It's like you said, it's I've always put this up. It's $159,550 an hour or something like that.
200,000 a day.
Oh, it's 200. Well, there you go. So $200,000 an hour, ladies and gentlemen. That's our defense budget. Like, get out of here. Like, I mean, anyway. I love it though, in a fun way.
You have B-52s in the US airspace circling. They don't do that. They're equally expensive to run. They are on a mission. They should be circling according to the playbook.
B-1 Lancer.
Yeah.
B-1 Lancer's in the sky. What's a B-1 Lancer doing in the sky?
And you have drones with Hellfires at night circling major cities 24/7. Okay, so here's the core question. We know it's happening. It's been happening since quite some time. They're brave men and women of the United States military under Commander-in-Chief Donald J. Trump, the wartime president, and the US Space Forces coordinating everything, and allied nations military. That doesn't mean the corrupt leaders are involved of those countries. It will snap now very soon, I believe. It's a military secret, and for sure they will not make a press conference what's happening tomorrow. Of course not. But can we give a guess to it? Will it be end of 24 or more likely in the next few months? What's your thought? Without, I mean, now we are speculating, okay? Now we're really flipping a coin. But it is compressed now. The optics are getting more and more, the comms are getting more and more concrete. It's leading up to something, Derek, because the laymen will realize in the next few weeks, where is the Democratic presidential race? And they start to realize those are actors. They've been working for the US military and the Commander-in-Chief Trump. It's fact. It is fact. Let's not lie about it. I mean, this Biden, I just published the side-by-side photos with the signatures. This current Mr. Biden is not Joe Biden. And if
you brought up a... Oh,
no,
sorry. I'm doing it again.
Sorry?
I had my delay again. It kind of froze. I thought
No, so we come to this conclusion. This Mr. Biden is not Joe Biden anymore. That means the question arises, who is it? And it's not a corrupt Mr. Biden actor working for the deep state. No. It was a ruse. All the global leaders and those WEF people and WHO to continue the money laundering and the contracts with the fake government. And now they realize, holy shit, we've been dealing with the wrong president.
I mean, the cool thing is this. The cool thing is this: is that you just said it. And if Democrats are not, like I said, I hate playing the party card, but for the sake of it, that's how they do it over here. If people would acknowledge this, one, put Donald Trump, the person, and the president, commander-in-chief, et cetera, whatever, just put Donald Trump up next to Joe Biden and go back 45, 50 years. Do they align anywhere? No, they don't. All right. The other, and so then you apply, well, why would Joe Biden extend every single thing that Donald Trump's done? Because that's what he's done. That's exactly what he's done. Everything that the media showed him do, it's all an extension of Donald Trump's laws and orders. So then flip over and let's just do Republican versus Democrat. Let's do Republican versus Democrat. How do they operate? Well, Republicans will have, like President Trump said, you'll have 47 trillion Republicans arguing against each other. They're fighting each other. They're debating each other. There's one thing about the Democratic Party, whether you like them or not, is that they pick one horse and they ride that horse all the way until that horse can't either drink water anymore or it's a winner, whatever it is, right? Well, taking that into consideration, what you're just talking about, I tell people all the time, where's Obama? Where are all these people? Where are they? The media shows them every now and then. Like, it's very sparse. And a lot of them are old articles and old pictures. So then you got to apply that. Donald Trump's on TV every single day, right? I mean, every single day, and he's live every single day, just about. Once again, what was he doing when he was a president? On TV every single day, right? So they're showing you consistency there, inconsistency everywhere else. And let's go back to the party. What's the Democratic Party do? They pick a president, right? They pick their candidate. So if Joe Biden is polling as bad as they show that he's doing, and now even though we over here on the weight side know the media is supposed to do that, and the media is going to shift because they're under a wartime code as well, 47 U.S. Code 606. They're under a wartime president code. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But for the people that don't know that, go over here and look at this. All right, they're telling the people that Joe Biden is losing miserably. Why isn't the Democratic Party picking another horse? Or why are they riding with Joe Biden? If they know he has no shot at Donald Trump, why are they picking him? Why aren't they? Where are all the Democrats at? Why aren't they going crazy? Hey, they're showing you without telling you. I mean, because if you know the process of how they pick their candidate, right, then you would see that, wow, this is an operation. And then, taking it the one step further, just, going back to the end of that, everybody, what I think's got to happen. Well, President Trump says it. Like I tell people, we were saying this in the pre-show. This is the old classic, shoot the messenger. I've taken everything that has been written and passed that I didn't write or pass, and God has blessed me to be able to be right here with all of you. Of course, I've met Joe and Scott, and I've met a lot, and I hope to meet you someday soon. But, God put me in a position where I'm getting a benefit off of what Donald Trump did and the military is doing and legislation is writing. And the operational dates of the federal continuity directives 1 and 2, one was 2018 to 2022. And the second one is 2020 to 2024. So there's that overlap a little. Now, that doesn't mean, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before, that doesn't mean December the 31st, 2024. And President Trump just said the other day, not only did he say we're going to obliterate the deep state, and he said we're going to decimate street crime by 75 and 85%. We're going to tear down some bad and ugly buildings. We're going to rescue the homeless off the streets of the cities. He also said in less than 4 months, we're going to take back this nation. All right. When you did the math on that, that would have put us right near March of 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, the original inauguration date in United States history is March the 4th, not January the 20th. So there's a lot of interesting facts there. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think it has to, because this is a humanitarian operation, not a party operation.
Yes.
And you cannot make it look like Joe Biden got 4 years. And that's why I think they removed McCarthy, because that's never been done before in history. So that's getting people ready to see a president on the sleep side. They're going to see something they've never seen before in history. And President Trump has outlined that. So I think it's going to have to happen long before November 2024, when President Trump says that's going to be our final battle. I think the final battle will be people. I'm going to say it like that. I hope it's people seeing what we've been talking about and having the full answers laid in front of them, going, this is what's been taking place. This is what we've been doing. And then I personally hope they flip all your TVs. I hope they hit the EAS, the emergency alert. I hope they flip everybody's phones. and TVs, and the only thing that you can do to get out of it is go fishing or hiking, or
No,
something like that.
You
and
can't.
then that's
No,
true.
no, no.
Probably be a lockdown, right?
No,
So
there will be. Well,
I
okay.
hope that,
Yeah.
well, I hope that that's what happens. And then I hope at the end of all the spiel, when they show Joe Biden and Kamala and everybody talking about what's been going on, whoop, I'll put the mask they go on every phone and every TV. That's how you'll wake people up, is to show this guy that they called Joe Biden the whole time, rip his mask off.
It's not Joe Biden. I say it from Switzerland. It's an actor.
Oh, it's not at all. No. All an actor.
That's fact. Your country is actually very well managed now, better than Switzerland, and they will take out. You're taking out. Well, we all will. Well, the military worldwide will take out the deep state. That is all the corrupt parliamentarian systems, and you know what? They will be removed and judged, but it won't be replaced by, oh, that's a new candidate in Switzerland, let's go to power again. No, no, no. This whole system has failed on humanity, failed on our constitutions in the US, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Britain. What will come next, in my view, is clear. It's a new system. It will be a, let's call it a military justice backed up system. This politician bullshit, this parliamentary opaque dealings and public, private, horseshit, fascist partnerships, forget it. It won't continue like that, because this operation, in my view, has been planned for decades, and we are the lucky ones to witness it happening now. And let me say this. This was Commander Mac Phillips' letter to the top brass of the US Marine Corps, the elite. And he canceled, as you know, the 248th birthday anniversary of the US Marine Corps ball. Hang on, guys. This has never been canceled, not during Hiroshima bombing, the illegal Iraq wars, World War II, World War I, when the Marines went in. No, no. I can't have the commanders drinking champagne with their lovely wives in wonderful uniform in a ballroom. I need them now in a positions to command. And this is, for me, when he said, it's not even hidden, it comes again. He says, our primary responsibility as Marines is to ensure the security and defense of our nation. Full stop. It is this commitment to duty that has necessary, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's all clear. So I believe it's happening in the next few weeks or months. I believe it's accelerating faster than people think. And I believe there will be a lockdown. It's not for a fake virus to kill people. No, it's there to protect people, because there will be a military curfew. And all those migrants who think they can loot the shops, there is order to shoot. And it will be organized. There will be organized times to do shopping. Everybody will be safe. I think we have to follow then the orders, not just on the US emergency broadcast system, but also in Switzerland and France, worldwide, because, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a global operation to take out the deep state that has betrayed humanity as a whole and our respective constitutions. And with that, I have shared what I think is going to happen, and all based on the readings and the university, based on Derek Johnson's facts, rules and orders that are published public. And I say one more thing, the US War Law Manual 215 and the US Codes of Court Martial are globally enforced as we speak, even in Switzerland. And President Trump has changed. He has amended the court martial. It's a thick book, you can download it. It includes also civilians now, because those were civilian politicians who betrayed the constitutions and the people, and they'll be shot. I'm very sorry to say so. That's what they will be. They will be judged. That's it.
Wow. Well, thank you both so much. And in closing, Derek, if there's anything you want to say, and please, we'll start with Derek and then Pascal, and say where people can find you and your documents, your website, anything. Derek, please go first, because I know there's a little bit of a delay. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and for people out there that when they hear that, you know, we should have never got to this point in history in the first place. But it goes back to when you don't know the laws and orders and you say that, well, you're not a constitutional attorney. Well, thank God I'm not, because as he just said, this is your university. This is your Department of Education right here. Our founders never wanted it to get like this. It was never supposed to look like any of this whatsoever. Our founders were not career politicians. They didn't serve one term, ladies and gentlemen. This is what politicians do. They can serve one term and they get $174,000 a year for the rest of their life, retirement. All right. So why and how? Okay. So that's out of your paycheck. So you should care. The other thing is the lockdown. I don't want to hear people complaining about no lockdown. Franklin D. Roosevelt had curfews during World War II. My grandmother and grandfather, everybody lived through it, that lived through that era. They had to cut their lights out at a certain time period, and that was because of the fact that Pearl Harbor was a suicide bombing. When you have lights on, well, guess what that is for suicide bombers? That's a clear target. So they would come around, the military would come around. If your lights weren't off by a certain time, well, you were given a warning. And then if you still violated that, then there were consequences to that, because it's for your safety. All right. Now, are they going to torture you and do kinds of? No, they're not going to do that. But if they have to restrain you for a while and say, well, you didn't turn your lights off when we told you to for your own good and your own safety, it's kind of like being a parent. A lot of people, I use this as an analogy. A lot of kids, children don't, you know, they might get a knife in their hand or something like that. They don't know that it's going to do them harm. And you take it away. They start pouting and crying, throwing a fit. Well, they didn't know what they had was going to hurt them, but you as a parent did, and you took that away for their own good. So this is what's going on right now. You know, we have a military that's been doing this for years. We have generals who've been knowing this for years. They know who's good and bad. You don't. I tell people all the time, quit trying to play good cop, bad cop. You don't know who the bad people are unless they show them to you. Then there you go. If you feel like that you want to make a judgment, great. But there's a lot of people that's playing roles right now. They look bad, but they're actually playing a role. And that's part of an operation. That's part of a special operation, especially. So I want people to remember that this is nothing new. This is a World War II history repeat. And I have other analogies I show on other podcasts I do that outline that. But you can find me, like I said, on the documents.info. That's still up. Free PDF files, just no subscriptions or anything like that. Some of the files do take a little bit to load. And then the continuity of the documents, as I call it, are on my Facebooks. So like when you read the documents, it catches you up from way back here, 2016 to 2021 and 2022. And then you pick up on my Facebook, 1776 Nation. It's the one with the most followers on it. There have been there's a lot of copycats out there. Lord have mercy. I do have a backup page, Rattletrap 1776 Nation, Facebook. My Telegram, I have 2 Telegrams now, but I have one as a backup just in case. But my main one is Rattletrap 1776, no spaces, underscores. You got to be careful. Some of them are adding little T's, you know, certain fonts with a T. So I don't sell anything. The only thing I tell people is you can support me by his music and merchandise. That's it. So, you know, I don't sell gold and XLM and XRM. I'm not messaging. There's one message that makes me look like I talk like Monty Python. I'm pretty sure I'm the most country cowboy you'll ever meet in your life. And I type the way that I talk. I'm not saying, how art thou today, Romeo? You know, and I don't talk like that. And I don't type like that. So there's a lot of that going on. But True Social is at Derek Johnson. I always have to think about myself. I have not been deleted so far on TikTok. I've been trolling them a lot with videos. So Rattletrap Nation. I started another one. They deleted me with 30,000 followers. So, but I have like 14 million hashtags on there. So they can't delete those. So let's see what else. Telegram, True Social, Facebook. I do have DerekJohnsonCountry.com. That's where you find my music. And I have my merchandise. So rattletrap1776.com. And that's it.
Thank you, Derek. Pascal, to you, please.
Yeah, well, again, I want to thank Derek Johnson, and I want to really thank, I really have to do this now, thank President and Commander-in-Chief Trump and his family for supporting him, and the people for supporting him, because he's actually defending and protecting we the people, Declaration of Independence and the 1776 Constitution. Probably, I said it on the show with Dr. Drew and Dr. Kelly Victory, and I don't want to insult the good George Washington, late George Washington, a hero, but probably since then, the finest president the United States, in my view, ever had. And not had, present term. I want to close and say and repeat the proverb that is actually tribute to all men and women in the military, not the woke trans. We can't use them, sorry. It doesn't scare the enemy. I talk about men and women that swore to protect our respective constitutions and doing their job right now in their trenches, in their positions, and are keeping zipped. It's a tribute to them when I say, and the US Space Force, by the way, the soldiers are called guardians. That's why we are the guardians of humanity, and our light obliterates the darkness of evil, always. And with that, I thank everybody. Greetings from Switzerland. This place, Switzerland, will look different, a much better Switzerland, and I can't wait for it to happen. And it will happen. It is happening.
Thank you both for being on the show together. This has been a real treat and a rare treat.
Yeah.
Stick around after the show for a moment, if you would. And
Sure.
Yeah.
any final thoughts there, Joe?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to our viewers and those who've supported us. This has turned into a full-time job pretty much for Scott and I, and we couldn't do it without our viewers and our subscribers. And thank you, because look at the guests that we're getting on our show. I mean, look at you guys. This is amazing to be part of this moment in history, and it gives me chills that you guys are on our show, and we'll have all the links below, etc. And I just want to say thank you to both of you for stepping forward for humanity, and it's an honor to be amongst your company. And with that, we'll say goodbye to the viewers and hang on after. Take care, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
God bless
everybody.
you. Thank you.